Everybody wants a Jeep. They want to buy a Jeep. But do you want this Jeep? Let's find out if it's a good buy or not. Let's get started. This is a 2014 Jeep Patriot with a 2.4 liter engine and a CVT transmission. Yes, that's right. This one has had a catastrophic failure. We're going to talk about what went wrong with this and how it's going to be a couple $1,000s to fix it. But before we do that, let's take a look around this thing. Here's the iconic front of the Jeep. It's a very common design that's been used for decades, and you would see this and think, oh, it's a Jeep, it's awesome, it's reliable, it's great. And that may not be the case on every Jeep. As we go around to the side, you can see right away it's got some scuffs and dents. I think it's a college kid's car. And it does have, looks like, some steel wheels on it. As I go down this side, the paint starts to look a little better. There's some cracking going on. But when we come around to the back, we can see the tailgate has a pretty good dent in the right side. So that's kind of unfortunate that that happened there. This side is decent. Doesn't have any dents or cracks or scratches or anything. No serious ones anyways. Let's go ahead and jump under the hood. So here's our 2.4 liter engine. It's called the World engine. They're not terrible, but they're not great. They're kind of in the middle, a gray area. If they're taken care of, they can be a decent engine. They're kind of noisy. It's normal, there's nothing wrong with the engine, but they just kind of make a lot of raucous noise when you get on it. They are fairly easy to work on. I'll go ahead and remove the engine cover. You can get to the valve cover really easy. You can get to all the coils really easily. The exhaust manifold is no serious issue to work on. The intake's not too bad, so you can see that the repair on this wouldn't be one of those where you pull your hair out. It's not that stressful. So it kind of seems like a Jeep that might be desirable until we start talking about the transmission, which is a CVT transmission. They use these in the Dodge Caliber, the Jeep Patriot, the Jeep Compass. They are not a good transmission, unfortunately. This one's shifting fine and doing fine. I don't know when it was last serviced, but we're not even going to worry about it because the customer's already maxed out on what they can do. They said they can't even go a dime more. So, based on the transmission troubles and the fact that these are a cheaper Jeep, and they're rarely ever maintained very well, the Jeep Patriot is a big gamble. They look cool. I actually kind of like them, but you really need to see service records, and documented service records, by the way, if you're going to purchase one. Let's go ahead and let Mrs. Swisser show you guys around the interior. This one's pretty sparse. It doesn't even have power windows.
So here you have it, 130,809 miles, and the dash is looking okay. The gauge cluster is, pretty simplistic, but I mean, that's nothing unusual for a Jeep. As we move up, we'll see that, well, we've got a few items up here the customer has installed into their car, including a very large collection of air fresheners. And let me tell you, it does smell, well, different in here. I wouldn't say bad, wouldn't say good. It just has a fragrance rather than at least still bodies, I guess. We do have a fun collection of toys over there. This is what my daughter calls the snack shelf, at least in our Ram truck. So they've got a few items of, to play with over there. We do see we have round vents in here and kind of stiff there, but nice, and they turn where you want them to go. Got a simple radio HVAC controls. We have our gear selector. As we move back, this might be a clue for what's wrong with the car. These aftermarket dual fan. We do have our e-brake. We have an armrest that is very small. Opens up. Got some mints in there. Looking good. Seats had a few better days, but it looks like it just needs a good bath, but that's easy to accomplish. But got dark gray and light gray on the center, and I have a neck fan on there as well. Man, they're definitely getting some alternative cooling happening in this vehicle. The door card is plastic and a little more plastic, and with that manual window crank, which actually is pretty common on some Jeeps, especially the Jeeps where the doors are removable. We don't have, it's very hard to, it's more difficult where the doors are removable. It's just easier to have manual windows in doors like that, but these doors don't come off. It just didn't come with that accessory. Back seat's looking good. Lots more darker charcoal. Looks like it's got a 40-60 split. Headliner's in good shape. No moonroof. Let me tell you, it's pretty minimalistic in here. Back at our steering wheel, I've got the Jeep logo in the center and some controls on the side. So enough of this interior talk. Let's get this up in the air and see what's going on.
During the earlier inspection, we removed the belly pan so we could take a look at everything. You can see here's our engine oil pan. It does have a little bit of seepage coming from it. It's nothing too serious. And here's our transmission, our good old CVT. Those are the bane of the existence of many of Patriot, Compass, and Caliber owners. Look at our brakes. They're about 60% remaining on the front. CV boots are good. Struts are good. Nothing loose there, nothing loose there. Front brakes are good. CV boots are good. The strut is not leaking. Sway bar link is not loose. As we move towards the back, you can see the seepage of the oil pan. Again, it's not dripping or causing any major issues, so that will probably be able to be looked past for a little while. Need to be monitored. This one's all-wheel drive, so it has a little baby transfer case on the side and gives us a rear drive shaft. These are the drive shafts that when the U-joints fail, you buy the whole drive shaft. Here's a little carrier bearing, a carrier mount, and it's good. A little exhaust. We do see on this rear differential there's a bunch of orange silicone. I don't think a mechanic has done that. I believe it came from the factory that way. They just kind of smushed it together and called it good. Nothing loose on the drive shaft. On the back, we do have good CV boots. The strut is not blown, sway bar link is not broken, but the brakes are down to about 10% remaining. Brakes again very thin, sway bar links are good, CV boots are good, and nothing leaking from the strut, nothing loose. One thing that's nice is the charcoal canister is very easy to get to. If it breaks or has issues with getting plugged, it's just right there. Here's our big muffler. I do see a tow hitch receiver here, so I would definitely not tow with this vehicle. The transmissions already have a bad enough rap. The last thing they need is additional load placed on them that make them fail even worse. So probably not tow with this thing. Before we get this thing back on the ground, let's talk about that catastrophic failure. So if you watch the interior review, you would have seen there's lots of little aftermarket little fans have been placed inside the interior to try and stay cool, and Mrs. Wizard was right. The reason why is the AC has completely failed on this vehicle, and it's failed in the worst way possible. The AC compressor has completely locked up. I'm going to remove the serpentine belt off of this and show you how bad it is. These compressors don't have a clutch on the externally like normal AC compressors. They run all the time and there's valves inside and whatnot, but it's really bad. Let me get this belt off and show you a really cool tool that's on our Amazon affiliates link that'll help you out a lot. So how many of you that do your own work have changed a serpentine belt on a front-wheel drive car and you just can't get down to the tensioner? There's like this much space. You can't get tools in there. It's frustrating. That's where these come in. This is a Snap-on brand, but we have something just like this on our Amazon affiliates link. And you can change out the little socket tips with what size you're dealing with for the belt tensioner. So we're going to put this on the bolt on the tensioner pulley, and it actually will turn the tensioner out of the way and allow us to remove the belt. This is thin and long, so it reaches up in there to get to the tensioner really easily. You can see I can rotate the tensioner. Look at that, guys. No fighting, no cursing, no anger. So now we have the belt off of our compressor, and we can see that the pulley freewheels. And on a normal AC compressor that would be fine, but that shouldn't be happening on one that doesn't have a clutch. If you look as I'm spinning, there's like an aluminum colored collar inside of there behind that rusty little bolt. That is actually a breakaway for emergencies. If the compressor locks up, that breaks and allows the pulley to keep spinning, which actually is a good design. Otherwise, you'd be on the side of the road squealing all to hell with the belt. Probably smoke pouring. But that has broken in half, so that tells me right there it must be locked up tighter than a drum. So I'm going to get a wrench on that little bolt. I should be able to turn that center portion, and let's see if it turns. So we have our handy dandy 7mm socket. We'll put it on the center bolt here. Now I should be able to turn this on a healthy compressor. It should turn fairly easily. I think I'm going to break the bolt in half if I go any tighter. So that is locked up tighter than a drum, guys. That's a bad bit of information for an AC system. It's terrible. One thing I get onto my mechanics about is when they have a tool setting up against something, especially on pulleys like this, I say no, that's bad. I worked at a shop years ago where another mechanic was working on a Toyota. He left his breaker bar on the main nut on the crank pulley. He was using just to turn the engine over, just to get it check timing. He forgot it was on there, and he started it, and it slung the breaker bar clear through and hit another customer's car and broke their windshield. Don't leave your tools hanging. I'm going to remove this right now because I have PTSD on it. I just did that for you guys' benefit to show you. Don't leave your tools on pulleys. Bad, bad. You're going to break something or hurt somebody. Really. I know that the next step we're going to be doing after this video is pulling that compressor completely off, so I don't need to put the belt back on. Let's get this thing back on the ground and show you some of the other AC components, where they're at, and what we're going to have to do for this thing. So what happened inside of that system? He took it to another shop. They said, we'll just slap another compressor on there. You should be good. They probably will for about 30 days or less. And it's going to lock up all over again. Let me show you why. So these are some old parts off of a system that grenaded. You can see there's metal. That's metal, guys. That's not sawdust or dirt. That's shrapnel, debris. But wait, there's more. So it's easy to think my AC grenaded, so all the debris is contained in the compressor only, right? Wrong. It's all over your whole system, bro. All of it. Look at this. This is an expansion valve that had metal debris all inside of it. There's more, but wait, there's more. Here's our receiver dryer. I'll see if I can tap a little bit of it out. Look at that, guys. That's just pieces, metal on metal, degrading into debris and being spread all over the system. And it's all in this condenser as well, all through those tiny little ports and tubes that you can't flush it out. There's not enough pressure you can put through there to flush it out because their ports are so tiny you can't move enough air. So that means every single piece in the AC system needs to be replaced and the lines need to be flushed out. If you'd like to know what all the names of all the parts of the AC system are, how they work, how much they cost, click the link in the description. There's a video we just did that we go through all those pieces and parts and show them. Make sure you check that out, guys. But that has to be done on this system, and as you can see through this grill, you can see the condenser right through this plastic. This is all plastic. This all has to come out to get to the condenser. That's right, your condenser is being protected by a piece of plastic. That's it. There's no metal there. There's nothing to guard it against impact. A lot of cars, when they get into a small impact, your entire AC system just refrigerant goes everywhere, unfortunately. All the work involved to do all those things is 4 or 5 hours at $150 an hour. And those parts aren't $50 a piece. Some of them are $250. The compressor alone was $300 or $400. You start adding this all up, and the refrigerant, and all, like I just mentioned, the time involved, and sales tax, you're going to be approaching $2,000. And that's pretty common. I've heard a lot of people say they've had their AC systems replaced. It was always $1,800, $2,000. That's the running price for a full AC system replacement. I have a customer story. It was years ago. I had a customer bring a Hyundai Optima, or Kia Optima, I should say. It's a Kia, actually. The AC compressor locked up just like this. I told him that it needs the whole system replacement. He got so angry with me, he actually cursed me out. He says, "You're out here trying to rob me, you're trying to rip me off. All it needs is a compressor, put it on, stop whining with me, stop fighting." I said, "Man, it's going to lock up 20 days later, 10 days later. You're going to have this same boat." He's like, "No, I won't." Finally, I pulled up the compressor that we were going to buy's warranty information, the brand new compressor, and it said warranty void unless you replace the expansion valve, the condenser, and also the receiver dryer along with the compressor and flush the lines. If you don't have receipts proving you did those things, you don't get a warranty, bro. You don't get one. After he read that, he was like, "This industry's a ripoff." But I just showed you with the parts we have here, it's not a ripoff. Why can't you just do the compressor? The reason why is when you put a brand new one on, all of that crap that's in the lines, even if you try to flush it, you're not ever going to get all of it. You can flush the evaporator core. It has large enough ports inside of it that you can blow through and blow those out. The condenser cannot be flushed. And you know, as sure as the day is long, 3 or 4 little pieces of debris are going to break loose, go through the system, and scrape up the inside of the bores of the new compressor, and you're back in the same boat all over again. I've seen it. So with that guy, he left. He didn't allow me to work on it, and I never seen him again. That's probably good. I don't think the guy had mechanical understanding of what's going on. At that same shop I used to work at many years ago, the boss was calling the shots, not me. I was an employee. He allowed someone to push him into just putting a compressor on. The next day it locked up, and the guy came in and unglued on the owner of that shop I worked at. I just learned these things over the years. I've seen the results. I know how it's going to turn out. So when a customer comes in with a locked up compressor, this one's locked up hard, guys. I say whole system or get out. Well, I'm not even going to play that game. Usually people understand. They're like, yeah, I want my AC to work. Let's do it. Now, we did show you the brakes on the back. We're getting pretty thin. The customer thinks they might go ahead and fix that themselves. But as far as the AC system is concerned, whether we get up at 1600, 18, or 2000, he said that's all he has. He's tapped out. I'm done. I don't have any more money. It runs, it drives, it's not dripping all over the place with fluids. If we get the AC system fixed, he'll be happy and be back on his way. And speaking of AC, Mrs. Wizard, I can't wait to get into the AC. It's so hot today.
Oh, it is unbelievable here, dear.
You guys aren't seeing it on camera, but every little bit I'm getting my rag and wiping. We don't have the fans going because they're so loud. All you'll hear is like an airplane noise. And I know you probably don't want to hear that. But anyways, that's where we're at with this Jeep Patriot. Are they a good vehicle? Not really. They can be if they're maintained. Unfortunately, most of the time, they're not. You can see them driving around town, and they can be in pretty sad shape. This one's decent, but there's some I've seen that are pretty bad. If you want to buy one, you really want one, make sure you've got documented services on the CVT transmission. Make sure you've got maintenance documented on the rest of the car. It might be an okay vehicle, but maybe get a RAV4 or a Honda CR-V or something. That might be a better bet. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use, just like that little belt tool I just showed you, click on the link below in the description. There's our Amazon affiliates link down there. A lot of the tools we have in the shop that we use are listed for sale there. And if you purchase any of them, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. And the shop is full of cars. We got a full schedule this week, which means really great videos, lots of them coming down the line just for you guys. Thanks for watching.